Live from Washington, D.C., Jay Sekulow Live. Phone lines are open for your questions right now. And now, Chief Counsel for the American Center for Law and Justice, Jay Sekulow.
Well, we've talked about leaks. We've talked about the number of leaks, but now we've got a report coming out from the Committee on Homeland Security and Government Affairs of the United States Senate. So this is a Senate committee discussing leaks. This is a staggering number. 125 leaks and stories about leaked information on the Trump administration between January 20th and May 25th. So 126 days in office, 125 leaks, a leak a day. The day is not over yet. Who knows if there'll be another leak? I suspect so. 18 stories of leaked information during the Obama administration for the same period. 9 stories of leaked information during the Bush administration. So if you take the Obama administration and Bush administration, put them together, you come up with 27. Multiply that times about 4.5. There's a 4.5, 5 times increase in the number of leaks. And by the way, the report from the Senate, Jordan, what did it say in Ron Johnson's letter to General Sessions?
Okay, so get this. He said, by necessity, this is talking about his staff, the majority staff that works for Chairman Ron Johnson, who chairs the Senate committee. This is the U.S. Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Government Affairs, not a subcommittee, the committee. And the chairman's staff put together this report. He then writes a letter on top of the report, sends it to Attorney General Jeff Sessions. And he notes in here, by necessity, this examination was not comprehensive. I mean, his team couldn't, This was done pretty quickly. And it required some judgment calls on which leaks constituted potential damage to national security. So get this, leaks of information that were borderline in terms of the criteria outlined in Executive Order 135/26, which was signed by President Obama, were not included in the total. So if they were borderline, they said, no, we won't include those. And still, we got to 125 out of 126. So he closes with this. This analysis, if anything, presents a conservative estimate of the volume of leaks of information potentially damaging to national security during the Trump administration, because they only included the leaked information from the publicly available news outlets that were certainly in violation of the Executive Order 135/26 signed by President Obama. They did not include the borderline. So when they had that conservative estimate, 125 leaks in 126 days on national security that pose a national security risk to us. That is, folks, unprecedented. Under President Obama, in the same time period, 18 stories were leaked. Only 9 were about him. 9 were about President Bush. Under President Bush, I believe 9 leaked in this time period. President Trump is dealing with an avalanche. That is actually the title of this report. For those of you who can see it from the majority staff, but I'll read it for it's State Secrets, and that's how I tweeted too, how an avalanche of media leaks is harming national security.
I'm going to tweet that as well.
This is not about harming President Trump himself or his campaign or politics. This is about harming all of our national security.
Yeah, but it also harms it harms the American people, and it harms our assets, of course, as Jordan said, and it harms the administration.
But partisan.
Look, when we talk about the existence of a deep state, of a bureaucracy that is bent on doing everything it can to thwart the presidency, they're thwarting our national security interests here. And none of us should be, I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, or Independent, nobody should be saying this is okay, because it's not okay. By the way, page 4 of the report says this: violations of the Espionage Act are punishable by 10 years imprisonment, and also which prohibits the communication of classified information retrieved from a computer if the information can be used to the injury of the United States. So it's a violation of the Espionage Act. Meanwhile, Politico, though, reports, I love this, Trump's leaks crackdown sends chills through national security world. Agency officials say measures have been taken to isolate leakers, creating a culture of fear. Now, I want to read that again. This is from Politico. Trump leaks crackdown send chills through national security world. Agency officials say measures have been taken to isolate leakers, creating a culture of fear. Here's the measure I'd like to take on the leakers. Put them in jail. Investigate, impanel the grand jury, and do your job, Department of Justice. And Politico writes that this is, a crackdown is sending chills. Hey, the leaks are sending chills. That's what's the problem. Get your story straight. We got a lot more ahead. Let me encourage you to sign our petition. We've had it up for a while on the shadow government to stop these leaks and stop the shadow government. And also, let me encourage you, we're in a matching challenge campaign which means any amount you donate to the ACLJ, we get a matching gift for. So again, I encourage you to go to aclj.org. You can call us at 1-877-989-2255. So I'm asking you to do two things. Sign that petition. Stop the shadow government, but also, very important that you do this, support the work of the ACLJ. Any amount you donate, we get a matching gift for here at the ACLJ. That's aclj.org or 1-877-989-2255. Back with more in a moment.
It is a critical time for our nation, and the American Center for Law and Justice is on the front lines, defending life and liberty, engaging the issues that matter most to you and your family. Whether it's working to protect Americans from the dangers of radical Islam and the persecution of Christians, to defending life at the U.S. Supreme Court, to protecting your religious and constitutional freedoms, we could not do this work without you, without your support. And now your support can really make a tremendous difference. For a limited time, you can participate in the ACLJ Matching Challenge. If you make a gift now, it will be doubled. $25 becomes $50. A $100 gift becomes $200. Please stand with the ACLJ right now and call 1-877-989-2255. That's 1-877-989-2255, or go online at aclj.org. Thank you for your support.
So many days, so many leaks. 125 leaks in 126 days. And as I said, the day is not over. That compares with President Obama's 18 for the same period and 9 during President Bush. Politico writes, and I said this at the end of the last segment, Trump leaks crackdown send chills through National Security Agency, through the world, their national security world. Let me say that again. Trump's leaks crackdown sends chills through the national security world. Agency officials say measures have been taken to isolate leakers, creating a culture of fear. Now, we know that's in the Politico report, right? So can we get a shot of that so we can show it up on the screen for our audience that's watching on Facebook or Periscope? I'm going to make sure this episode goes to our TV networks too. Because, okay, folks, I am reading this again because it is incredible to say the least. And here's what it says. This is from Politico. And when you look at this, Politico is basically saying that the poor leakers are being isolated. So that's why they say Trump's leaks crackdown, because they are starting to crack down on this, and that's a good sign, sends chills through the national security world. Agency officials say measures have been taken to isolate leakers, creating a culture of fear. How about a culture of prosecution for those that are involved in leaking? Now, I'd like to know, Jordan, you comment here, but Logan, get us some comments on this. This is beyond, it's such a bizarre statement that Politico wrote. No disrespect to Politico, but really? We're worried about the leakers feeling like they're isolated?
They should be, because they're going to be isolated in prison cells if right. Attorney General Sessions does is what Senator Johnson and President Trump have talked about. They will be in prison for a long time. If they get convicted, at least 10 years, and that's just if they did it once. If they did it twice, it's 20. And they could be charged under 2 different statutes with penalties, so that could be up to 40 just for twice. 40 years in prison. For most of those folks, probably almost a life sentence. So you put a few of these away, and I bet you look at the next starting next year, January of next year, you're not going to have 126 of these in the first next 125 days of 2018. But it's going to take the people go to jail.
But you've got to get aggressive action here. I mean, you have to be very, very aggressive about this. And this is the headline, by the way, for our friends on Facebook and Periscope. This one's Trump's crackdown sends chills through national security world. And then they say in the article that the leakers are feeling isolated. And Jordan said they'll be isolated in a prison cell. We have a line open, which is...
We have a couple lines open, yeah.
Right.
Give us a call. Let's go to Jeremy. Those will hold about a half hour in Colorado Springs, Colorado. You're on the air.
Hi, Jeremy. Go ahead.
Hello.
Hey.
Yeah.
Can you guys shed any light? As to why the feds are having such a difficult time confiscating that DNC server? I mean, seems pretty easy to issue a search warrant and go do a raid and get it.
Yeah, well, they didn't do it under the Obama administration. And remember, the Obama administration knew about the so-called Russia hacking and engagement and did nothing about it. They closed an embassy, sent some people home for a weekend, and closed two resorts or retreat centers that the Russians use for their staff. So there you have it. Go ahead.
We do know now that out of this meeting that we know happened at the G20, this is just breaking news, between President Trump and President Putin of Russia, that the U.S. and Russia have reached a ceasefire agreement in Syria, which would mean that we would again be able to start taking out ISIS targets without the fear of being, remember the Russians were threatening to shoot us down.
Yeah.
Well, the Russians were the ones who made the threat to shoot us down. Now, that didn't stop our missions, but I think we made, I'm sure we made the threat back. Okay, then you're also targets. That has now ceased. So there has been some improvement there. Now, is the media going to say that's a bad thing? That our pilots now don't have to worry about being shot down by the Russians when they are taking out these horrendous actors of ISIS, these brutal terrorists? But that is just breaking out of. So that's the first of probably many things that are being reported out of their one-on-one meeting with their delegations of Russia and the U.S. But that was not a G20 discussion. That came directly from the Putin-Trump meeting at the G20. And again, that's a positive development.
All right, so let's do this. Let's figure out that is a positive development, but let's figure out back on the leaks here. What's going on? People are asking that question. So, Logan, what are we seeing on Facebook and Periscope?
Honestly, the leakers should be running scared now, right?
Yes. So, according to Politico, they're feeling isolated, but they should feel a lot more than isolated. They should be investigated, put under oath, polygraphed. If they're found guilty, when you only find that out by a trial, so you can indict them, go to trial. You put a couple of these people in jail and you stop these leaks. But this is when we talked about the deep state and people saying, oh, is that real? Yeah, it's real. But then you got Politico writing that they're feeling isolated and the intelligence community is feeling a lot of pressure because people are cracking down on leaks. I mean, they actually have written that in a news report. I mean, this is how absurd this is. That they would write in a news report. I mean, this is what, to me, this is so Washington, that the leakers are feeling isolated. I mean, and that's like a breaking news item. The leakers are upset. Logan, who's next?
All right, let's do it. Let's go to Rick in California on line 3. Rick, you're on the air.
Hey, Rick, you're on the air.
Longtime ACLJ supporter. Thanks for all you guys do. Love you.
Thanks.
Listen, I'm a retired military. I tell you what, this is. I want to add my Roger execute to this thing. This is beyond egregious. Okay, I had to fire a senior NCO one time for a violation of the Security Act just for merely leaving classified documents on his desk and leaving the room. Okay, this nonsense is just completely beyond the scope, and they need to proceed to the investigations. They need to proceed to the subpoenas. They need to proceed to the investigations and prosecutions, and that means they need to have done it like 6 months ago.
Well, and Rick, you bring up, and thank you for your military service, the fact that you had to fire someone you may not have wanted to fire, but because they messed up, and all they did, they were fired from the U.S. military, was because they left documents on their desk and walked away from the desk. They didn't leak it out to anyone. Now, that could have put the documents at risk. We are talking about individuals who did not just mishandle. There is another statute for that, by the way, the criminal statute for mishandling classified information, which is different, by the way, in this level of Espionage Act information, which is top national security. But this is individuals who not only mishandled it, then they gave it to someone else. They leaked it out. It was as if the officer that you had to let go, Rick, because of leaving it on his desk, took it from his desk and gave it to a New York Times reporter. That is what is going on here.
That's what happened with James Comey, too.
And the individuals that are mostly doing this are inside intelligence agencies, which are somewhat like the military in their operation. They're held to a higher standard, or should be.
Yeah, here's the irony, though. Will points this out, our producer. The irony is that the article about the crackdown in Politico is from, guess what? Anonymous sources. So the leaked information is from leaked sources. Anonymous. There you go.
That's why you have to wonder if how much the news is fake. Just totally, absolutely fake. If that story is accurate at all.
How could that story? I mean, if that story is accurate, it's absurd. Why would that be accurate? But if it is, it's absurd. But this is Politico, respected magazine, an online journal. Why would you say the leakers are feeling isolated now and they're sending a chill down the spine of the intelligence community that they no longer can leak information? Why? That's really sending a chill down the intelligence community? Then guess what we need? a new intelligence community. That would be helpful. Logan, what are we seeing online? And we'll take some more calls here.
This is from Donna said, well, why would the leakers feel fear? Nothing ever happens to them.
Well, this is the look. I understand what Donna's saying on Facebook there or Periscope, and here is the reality. There has to be consequences. Now, we don't know. Jordan and I were just talking about this. We don't know if there's an ongoing grand jury impaneled right now. There may be.
Right.
And there could be investigations going on. And if that's it, it's a good thing. If there's not, what I would suggest to the Attorney General of the United States is that they set up a special unit inside the Department of Justice to go after the leaks, to plug these leaks, and to go after them aggressively. It doesn't have to be a special counsel. I don't think that's needed at all. Not necessary at all. It's a unit inside the Department of Justice that is, and the FBI, so it'll be both FBI agents and lawyers from DOJ to investigate this and to bring prosecutions when warranted. That's what needs to happen. And that will send a signal, by the way, to these leakers who are feeling isolated right now, according to Politico. Let me encourage you to sign our petition. We've had it up for a while on the shadow government to stop these leaks and stop the shadow government. And also, let me encourage you, we're in a matching challenge campaign, which means any amount you donate to the ACLJ, we get a matching gift for. So again, I encourage you to go to aclj.org. You can call us at 1-877-989-2255. So I'm asking you to do two things. Sign that petition, stop the shadow government, but also, very important that you do this, support the work of the ACLJ. Any amount you donate, we get a matching gift for here at the ACLJ. That's aclj.org or 1-877-989-2255. Back with more in a moment.
It is a critical time for our nation, and the American Center for Law and Justice is on the front lines, defending life and liberty, engaging the issues that matter most to you and your family. Whether it's working to protect Americans from the dangers of radical Islam and the persecution of Christians, to defending life at the U.S. Supreme Court, to protecting your religious and constitutional freedoms, we could not do this work without you, without your support. And now your support can really make a tremendous difference. For a limited time, you can participate in the ACLJ Matching Challenge. If you make a gift now, it will be doubled. $25 becomes $50. A $100 gift becomes $200. Please stand with the ACLJ right now and call 1-877-989-2255. That's 1-877-989-2255, or go online at aclj.org. Thank you for your support.
In this Politico report that I've been quoting from, a half dozen officials across the national security community described to Politico a series of subtle and not so subtle changes that have led to an increasing tense and paranoid working environment rooted in the White House obsession with leaks. Maybe there's an obsession with leaks because there's 125 leaks in 126 days. That may give you an obsession with leaks. By the way, being obsessed with leaks, it's not a bad thing. Now, plugging those leaks is what you need to do here. And again, I'm calling for the Department of Justice to specifically engage in that. All right, last segment of the broadcast. We're going to take the calls. Let's go, Logan.
Yep, all the lines are jammed. Let's go to Scott first in Denver, Colorado. He's been holding about 37 minutes. Thanks, Scott. You're on the air.
Hey, Scott. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
All right. No problem, guys. Thanks for your attention to detail.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Thanks for also mentioning the Espionage Act. If my memory serves me, didn't Obama use the act somewhat effectively? And because there was something about his unprincipled liberalism where people were just afraid to leak. I mean, there's only 18 at this point. Versus 25.
He went after, use Verizon to go after AP. He went after James Rosen at Fox News and his family. So he went after, instead of the leakers.
He went after the reporters.
The reporters were the ones that were being, they wanted to criminally charge with things like the Espionage Act. People who were just getting, and we've always said, let me make it very clear, I don't like leaked information, but if someone leaks information to a news agency and they're able to verify it, it's up to them to decide. They've got freedom of the press. There are very little restrictions on what they can't print. And that's not what we're talking about here when we say we need to lock up leakers, not the reporters.
No, right.
The leakers are the people inside the government who have access to the information, either authorized or unauthorized. In many cases, I believe it's authorized. So they're allowed to have this information. They're just not allowed to. It's illegal for them to share it with reporters.
So Jake Tapper from CNN said this, I guess, on his broadcast, that the Obama administration has used the Espionage Act to go after whistleblowers who leak to journalists more than all previous administrations combined. So, President Trump needs to have a unit inside DOJ that's what they're doing, plugging these leaks. This is serious stuff, folks. Plug the leaks. All right, let's take another call.
All right, continuing on. Let's just
try to work in a comment or two, Logan, will you?
We'll see.
Okay.
David in Henderson, Nevada, on line 2. You're on the air.
Hey, David, go ahead.
Hi.
Yep.
Hi, sir.
Yep.
What do you think the probabilities are that the Trump Sessions Justice Department will actually prosecute any of the leakers?
I think they will. I think that they have to go after this. I don't have any personal knowledge of this. The Senator Johnson sent a letter to the Attorney General talking about the fact that in the report they talk about that the violation of the Espionage Act is a federal offense, felony, punishable by 10 years in jail for each time you did it. This is obviously a serious problem. It impacts our national security. So I think at the end of the day, I think that they need to be. I think there needs to be a special unit though dedicated to this. So this stops, because this affects all of our national security. This is not something you handle just once in a while, Jordan. This is something you have to engage in, and I think a unit inside DOJ is the way this goes with FBI agents.
Yeah, you've got to prioritize. So you want to go after these national security leaks, right? The 125 that have been identified by the Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee of the U.S. Senate. So you prioritize those kind of leaks first. And then those are the ones who you can go after, not just with leaking classified information, but also Espionage Act violations. So you go after those people. And I think out of those 125 that have been individually figured out, let's say that came from 2 dozen, 3 dozen people. If you could get to 3 or 4 of those people and lock them up, I bet those others don't keep leaking, because they don't want to spend, if they did it multiple times, 30, 40, 50 the rest of their life in federal prison because they gave information to a New York Times so that reporter could get a lot of clicks on their article for 2 days.
Yeah, exactly right.
And do a TV interview.
But look, the Obama administration set the president there. They went after it aggressively. All right, Logan, you want to take a comment or a call?
Let's just keep going with calls. I'll take some comments, I promise. Right. But there's a lot coming in, a lot of very similar. Let's go to Gretchen, though, in Baltimore, Maryland, on line 5.
Hi, Gretchen, go ahead.
And give us a call.
I wanted to address the whole issue of the misleading headlines in the newspapers. As a trained journalist, one of the things that I learned and was encouraged to do, especially for the lead and or the headline, was to capture somebody's attention.
Right.
And by doing that, we were encouraged we're not here to tell the truth. We're here to shape opinion. That was sort of drilled into me many, many times. And so what we're trying to do is get people to jump to the next paragraph. So you've got to put something catchy to get them interested. And to do so, sometimes you need to be misleading. And that's what I see happening here.
Well, yeah, and then their reporting it's not just it's misleading. There's actually a quote in Politico saying that the leakers are feeling isolated. Just think about that for a moment. How is that a bad thing that leakers are feeling isolated? They should be feeling prosecuted. That's what's the irony of all of this. But that's what the reporters, but from anonymous sources, as Will pointed out. So anyways, there you go. All right, we're going to take a couple more calls here in our last 3 minutes. We'll get some comments too.
All right, yep, let's go to Dennis in Reno, Nevada. You're on the air.
Hi, Dennis, go ahead.
Yes, a yes or no answer will do. If the DOJ gets a couple leakers and convicts them and the leaks stop, the DOJ is still going to continue looking for these people because they have committed crimes. Is that yes or no?
Well, yes or no. It's. Let me give you the answer. Okay,
not that simple.
If they prosecute a leaker, that does not mean the leak investigation stop. If they found 2, you have to keep this pressure on in the right way. It's legal to stop leaks. So you would prosecute those that are found. You have the facts to base it up through a grand jury subpoena process and a grand jury investigation, and then you would, in fact, indict, and if you convict, they're found guilty if they're convicted. But that doesn't stop you from doing more of these, because just 1 or 2 may not be enough. So I think you have to have a unit inside the Department of Justice dedicated to this. This is an unprecedented amount of leaks. It's an unprecedented number.
Listen, we can restate it again for everybody. So if we got any late joiners here. In these first 126 days, 3 administrations were looked at. President Trump, President Obama, President Bush. President Bush suffered 9 of what would be considered these national security threat leaks. 9. President Obama suffered 18 of those kind of leaks. These are just national security leaks. But President Obama's 18, 9 of them were about President Obama. The other 9 were still about President Bush. President Trump has faced 125 leaked stories, individual stories, in his first 126 days. That is 7 times the rate of what was happening under the Obama and Bush administrations.
It's unconscionable.
And unlike his, up to 80 of them, nearly 80 of the 125 are just about investigations or so-called investigations going on, which are all supposed to be behind closed doors and not public.
Yeah, so it's called outrageous. I mean, you call it whatever you want, but that's what I call it, is outrageous. All right, let's grab the last call here, Logan. We could do this.
April in Kentucky, you're on the air.
Hey, April, go ahead.
Yes, thank you for all you do. Thank you for standing for the truth. I would like to know why people like Hillary Clinton and others still have security clearance.
No, I mean, you ask a valid question. Does she still have security clearance? I mean, do we know that for sure at this point? I mean, we don't know that.
I think that's being reviewed. I think that's part of the State Department has opened up a new internal review, and that's the administrative actions they take.
Right.
That's not necessarily a court action. So there is a
review process. I don't want to comment on something that
there is a new State Department review of this.
Yeah, so it may be something that becomes very. I would say
they do still have. They do, and as of June 20th, they do have their clearance. But there is a State Department review ongoing.
So that review is in process. All this information that we've been discussing today on the broadcast, the leaks, the shadow government, all of this has to be addressed, and the ACLJ is front and center on so many of these issues. We've got a petition up to stop the shadow government and stop the leaks. You can sign that at aclj.org. And when you're there, we're also in a matching challenge campaign, which means any amount you donate to the ACLJ, we're getting a matching gift for. So I encourage you to go to aclj.org. That's aclj.org. Any amount you donate, we get a matching gift. Or you can call us at 1-877-989-2255. That's 877-989-2255 or aclj.org for that matching gift. We'll talk to you next week.
It is a critical time for our nation, and the American Center for Law and Justice is on the front lines, defending life and liberty, engaging the issues that matter most to you and your family. Whether it's working to protect Americans from the dangers of radical Islam and the persecution of Christians, to defending life at the U.S. Supreme Court, to protecting your religious and constitutional freedoms, we could not do this work without you, without your support. And now your support can really make a tremendous difference. For a limited time, you can participate in the ACLJ Matching Challenge. If you make a gift now, it will be doubled. $25 becomes $50. A $100 gift becomes $200. Please stand with the ACLJ right now and call 1-877-989-2255. That's 1-877-989-2255, or go online at aclj.org. Thank you for your support.